Despite the murder of his rival Big Nut, ongoing gang violence, and legal troubles from 2015 onward, Young Thug's music career not only continued to flourish, but also propelled him on a trajectory that would ultimately see him reach the top of the game, eventually being hailed as the most influential rapper of the 21st century by BBC in 2019. Praised as one of the most influential moguls in modern rap by New Musical Express in 2021, and classified as an icon by Complex in the same year, he would even be considered as one of the greatest rappers of all time by Hot New Hip Hop by 2022. But behind the scenes, it would seem that Young Thug's street ties were impacting his career in the industry in unexpected ways. In December 2014, Young Thug had featured with Nicki Minaj on Atlanta pop sensation's Ray Sremmurds album Throw Some Mo, which would end up peaking at number 30 on the Billboard 100. The track set a new record for Thug, who by this point was officially one of the biggest players in the rap industry. Interestingly, however, it seemed that Thug's desire to work with Lil Wayne and his Young Money collective had become a twisted fantasy of either becoming or killing Lil Wayne, as early in March 2014, during a DJ Who Kid interview, Thug would announce that he would be naming his debut album The Carter 6. This of course being a reference to Lil Wayne's long-running 5-part album series called The Carter, with Thug saying that he would be releasing The Carter 6 instead of Wayne, because he's the only one who can make music at that level, and that he's big enough to carry the torch from Lil Wayne, who announced his retirement would be following The Carter 5, with Thug ending by saying that he was coming for Wayne.
You got a title for your new album coming out? Your future album?
Yeah, Carter 6.
Oh, it's Carter 6.
Yeah.
Nah, Carter also?
Yeah.
You and Lil Wayne is coming out, or explain that to me?
Nah, I just feel like I'm that big.
Wow.
Cause he feel like after the Carter 5, he ain't gonna make no more music. Cause he feel like can't nobody make no music like that.
Oh, okay.
He said, "What's the name of your album if you drop one?" Carter 6.
Yo, that is crazy.
I'm going straight at it.
Yo, man.
Still, Thug would give Wayne his flowers, listing him as one of his biggest influences. And listening to the first conversation where this was mentioned, it's possible that this was just trolling or an off-the-cuff, trying to be funny response from Thug. But things will be taken very seriously, and this comment made a huge splash. Joke or not, the timing of this was pretty savage too, because later that year, Lil Wayne revealed that he was disputing his deal with Birdman and Cash Money Records, and couldn't drop music, with Wayne later filing a $51 million lawsuit against his former mentor and label. During this time, Thug had become incredibly close to Birdman and arguably was taking Wayne's spot, not just musically, but taking his mentor for himself too. It seemed that the industry was supporting Young Thug's super trolling too, with a tweet from 300 Entertainment in March 2015 confirming that Young Thug would indeed be releasing The Carter 6 soon. Even Lil Wayne's daughter would tweet about this, calling it childish and saying that Thug would never be on her father's level. But Thug wasn't letting up, and he would tease a cover art for Carter 6 that depicted him naked on a spotlight with a blood bandana on. This prompted Wayne to extensively diss Rich Gang and Young Thug on stage at 2 shows.
If y'all ever have Rich Gang or whoever it is in this, y'all let them know I said. And stop listening to songs that pose naked on their now.
Soon after this, in April of 2015, Thug would reveal that he was forced to change the title of the album from Carter 6 to Barter 6, in a slick move that replaced the C with a B in reference to the Blood Gang. This was followed by Thug announcing the change, as well as a show in Wayne's hometown of New Orleans, where he said that he would be there with his shooters. A KG Young Thug would also be interviewed by All Hip Hop TV at a release event for Barter 6, denying that there was a beef and claiming that he was just playing homage to Wayne all along.
The Carter 6 becoming the Barter 6, why were you so adamant on the Carter 6? Like, what if Wayne wanted to drop it? What was your true feelings behind doing that?
What was my true feeling about what? Changing the name of the album?
Not changing the name, I think taking on the Carter 6 initially, just in general.
What's my what?
What was your intention, I guess, with naming it the Carter 6 in the first place? Like, why were you so adamant about the name?
Like, it's like, man, that's the person I look up to.
Okay, cool. So it was no beef, because everybody takes it as like maybe a shot at him, but for you it's homage?
No, it's no beef.
Eventually, on April the 17th, 2015, Young Thug released Barter 6 officially, and despite the controversy, the project was a huge success. It debuted at number 22 on the Billboard 200, becoming the first of many entries on the albums chart for Thug, and the project was met with praise as Pitchfork gave it rave reviews and a grade of 8.4, a big improvement for Thug critically. Released under 300 Entertainment, the project featured hits like Check, which peaked at 100 on the Billboard charts, as well as the song Halftime. On Check, Thug raps about how people are so fake that he has to keep a gun on him at all times, while also giving a special shout out to Birdman. And on the track Halftime, there was more gangster imagery, with Thug rapping how if people try and rob him, then his gun will chop them in half, and how he leaves his ops outlined in chalk. Thug would also shout out YSL Woody, saying that if anyone tries him, he'll be sending Woody to shoot at their head, perhaps a reference to what the streets were saying that Woody had actually done to Big Nut. But interestingly, in an interview with DJU, YSL Woody would actually say that this lyric was stupid of Thug as he felt it brought unnecessary attention to his name at the time.
How big was it, like, when Young Thug dropped your name in a song on the halftime song? You know, Lil Woody. Like, how big was that for you? Like was that like crazy? Like, you know?
It was stupid.
Thug was also speaking spicy elsewhere on the project, rapping on the opening track constantly hating that his crew have a lot of bodies, while on the hook suggesting that the feds were actively looking into him. And on the second track, with that, Thug raps all about putting $100,000 on his ops' heads. Then on the song Dream, this had a feature from Yak Gotti, who would himself claim to have a lot of bodies, something that he would later be accused of at trial, and vowing to never snitch if he ever gets arrested, and calling YSL the mob. In the song Amazing, Thug mentions Hertz Rent-A-Cars, the very company that was used to rent the car that was used in Nut's murder. And track 10 is titled Knocked Off, very obviously a reference to having people killed, with Thug bragging about how he can pull some strings and have someone taken out, going on to name all of the scenarios in which he might have someone killed, saying that he'll have someone killed in exchange for a double-sealed pint of cough syrup, or even having someone killed while pulling off a scam, or for trying to get into his gang. In another suspect lyric, Thug is talking about a girl, saying that if she wants that nut, Thug will blast her with a shot of his own brand Thug sauce. But this also could have a double-coded message that if a girl messes with Thug's ops, like Nut, she's gonna get shot, just like Big Nut did. On the track Numbers, Thug would boast about guys in Atlanta having guns and being willing to kill their ops, with one lyric even saying that he wants to kill people and see the tears of their mothers. Ultimately, however, Barter 6 with its new title would still get under Lil Wayne's skin, with Wayne taking to the stage to diss Thug after its release.
If there were any other albums that dropped recently, tell them I say suck my ain't no mother such thing as Carter 6. You let them know Tunchi says suck my.
Then, on April the 21st, 2015, Thug would make an Instagram post saying that he would be performing in New Orleans, Lil Wayne's home city, and that he would be bringing guns with him, with the video ending having the camera panning to Pee Wee Roscoe, who's holding a firearm.
First show, New Orleans, Holly Grove. Meet me there, baby. Beat me there, you did. With them two. Yeah.
On April the 26th, 2015, things would escalate to a whole new level as Thug performed a show at the Southern University in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, Lil Wayne's home state. And coincidentally, on the very same night, Lil Wayne was actually performing at a nightclub called The Compound in Thug's hometown of Atlanta. The show in Louisiana would end poorly for Thug, who received a terrible reception from the natives who were clearly loyal to Lil Wayne. In a video posted by College Kid, you can see that the crowd was shouting for Lil Wayne, and Thug was eventually booed and heckled and yelled off stage. At this point, Thug's road manager and friend from the streets of Atlanta, Pee Wee Roscoe, who was still in Atlanta at the time, drives to the Compound nightclub with other Blood Gang members. At the venue, there's an altercation, and Pee Wee is allegedly heard shouting, "This is my city," and that he would spray up Lil Wayne's tour bus. And as the local news would report, that is exactly what happened next.
The two buses belonging to the entourage for rapper Lil Wayne came under gunfire. Prosecutors say a simmering rap feud and gang tensions led to it. They believe they could pin Winfrey as the gunman. He was indicted on 27 counts, including a rarely, if ever, used charge that references domestic terrorism.
Yes, Pee Wee Roscoe allegedly pulled up alongside the tour bus and let off shots, but fortunately, nobody from Lil Wayne's entourage was hurt. And while Roscoe was ultimately arrested and charged for the crime, Young Thug and Birdman faced no charges despite being mentioned by name in the indictment, including a suggestion that Roscoe was actually on the phone with Thug himself when he was chasing Wayne's tour bus. Now, this conviction was later overturned as the trial judge had improperly encouraged Winfrey to take a guilty plea, but Thug himself would never be formally implicated in the crime, as Fox 5 Atlanta News would report on.
Well, all new at 5, the state's highest court has reversed convictions for the man who pleaded guilty to shooting at rapper Lil Wayne's tour bus. Back in 2015, prosecutors say Jimmy Winfrey opened fire on 2 of Lil Wayne's tour buses as they drove down 285. No one was hurt, and as part of the plea deal, a judge sentenced Winfrey to 10 years behind bars. Well, today, the state Supreme Court decided the trial judge in that case improperly participated in plea negotiations by encouraging Winfrey to take the plea deal. The court says that made the plea involuntary.
but the reality was that after the murder of Nut and what appeared to be an attempted murder of Lil Wayne and his entourage, getting on the wrong side of Young Thug could be deadly, and nobody in the industry was safe. And despite the danger around him, Young Thug was getting endless opportunities and was continuing to rise above the destruction going on around him. On the 7th of July 2015, Young Thug would be at the Perimeter Mall in Sandy Springs, Georgia, where following an altercation with security began escorting him out the premises. Thug's alleged response would be a threat to shoot the director of security in the face. The police would be called and they'd arrive shortly after, when Thug had already left, after which a warrant was issued for his arrest for the charge of issuing terroristic threats, basically threats that were meant to terrorize another person. Thug would be arrested for this on the next day, the 8th of July 2015, and this incident would eventually be listed within the indictment as furtherance of the conspiracy of YSL, the criminal street gang. In August 2015, Young Thug was still playing shows internationally, even popping up in my home turf in London, where he would set the stage on fire and had the British audience singing Danny Glover word for word. After the show, Thug would do a post-performance interview with the UK rap radio icon Tim Westwood, where Westwood gave Thug a deserved welcome.
Tim Westwood TV, Young Thug baby, in the UK. What? What in the UK did you ever think that?
Back in the States a month later, Thug would be collaborating with two of the biggest artists in the modern era. When Travis Scott released his iconic Rodeo album on September the 4th, 2015, it featured the song Maria I'm Drunk that paired Young Thug and Travis Scott up with pop sensation Justin Bieber. This was a huge hit that as of December the 11th, 2024, had racked up over 200 million streams on Spotify. And within a couple of weeks, Thug would be following that up with his latest tape and the beginning of another infamous series. On September the 16th, 2015, Thug would drop Slime Season, the first installment of an ongoing Slime Season mixtape series, a name which he had taken from his former friend Ola Player, who had released his Slime Season tape the previous year. Thug's Slime Season featured notable tracks like Power and Best Friend, the latter of which became a viral hit, partly thanks to its memorable music video, and ended up landing at 45 on the Billboard charts. Interestingly, in Best Friend, Thug actually starts the track with an aggressive shout-out to his gang, YSL, proving that even at this point in his career, in the same year as the murder of Nut and attempted murder on Lil Wayne, Thug wasn't shy about repping his gang affiliations in his songs. Slime Season would further cement Thug's dominance in the mixtape circuit, earning critical acclaim and millions of streams, even getting a respectable 7.6 score from Pitchfork, and Thug would waste no time following it up, as within a month and a half, on October the 31st, 2015, Thug would drop Slime Season Part 2, the sequel to Slime Season, which showcased Thug's versatility and work ethic, with standout tracks like Thief in the Night featuring Trouble. The project was met with more positive reviews, like a 7.9 rating from Pitchfork, which only boosted Thug's momentum in the industry. Moving into the new year, on January the 26th, 2016, Thug is interviewed on Sway in the Morning, and when asked, he would proudly proclaim how he had really came from the streets, even admitting that he's been shot and people have been shot back.
Where did you come from? Like, what is your background? Like,
man.
Okay, what's the man? You got, hey, Thug, you gotta, you know, you
man, we came from the streets. Okay. I'm talking about like goddamn, Harlem 55th, whatever they, you know, all the weirdest parts in the world. You know, we came from straight. You know, I don't got shot. You know, everything that happened, it don't been both ways. Mm-hmm. I came from the struggle for real. I ain't, you know, I don't really know nothing about the spoons, the silver ones. You know what I'm saying? They silver and gold now though, you know.
Yeah.
But I ain't come from those.
Thug really didn't have a care in the world with regards to self-snitching, and he seemed to have a deep desire to let everybody know his street credentials. And moving into 2016, Thug would continue dropping iconic music, when on the 5th of February 2016, he would release I'm Up, a surprise mixtape which temporarily disrupted the Slime Season trilogy. This tape performed better than the first two entries of Slime Season, actually peaking at 22 on Billboard's 200 albums chart. The song My Boys featuring Lil Durk, Trouble, and Rallo is one of two Lil Durk assisted features on the mixtape, while the song Hercules would become the main hit of the mixtape, assisted by super producer Metro Boomin. Reviewers once again praised Thug's work, as well as his actual work ethic, dropping at a rate that was unusual for rappers at the time. And he wasn't about to let that work ethic ease up either, as at the end of the following month, on March the 25th, 2016, Thug continued the mixtape series that he'd started the previous year and dropped Slime Season number 3. This one performed the best out of any of his projects so far, going number 7 on Billboard, and this mixtape actually marked the conclusion of the Slime Season trilogy, and it featured songs like Digits and With Them, both of which were widely praised. Slime Season 3 was widely considered to be the best mixtape in the underground rap scene at the time, receiving many positive reviews, and the project saw Thug living up to his name, with the project positively packed with bold references to his blood gang and murderous lyrics. Track 1, titled With Them, saw Thug openly claiming that if people play with him, he's going to send them to God and then ask for forgiveness. But the violent lyrics were often dripping in so much auto-tune that many of them went straight over people's heads, and these jiggy murder anthems would storm the charts. The track With Them would reach 87 on the Billboard Hot 100s, and Digits, another hit song from the project, would hit number 93. However, the Atlanta law enforcement were likely also paying attention to the tape's violent themes, and lyrics from the song Slime Shit on the tape would later be listed in the YSL indictment. But Young Thug was on fire in the rap game at this point, storming the Billboard charts as well as playing bigger and bigger shows, and going on respectable sized tours around America and the world at large, even vlogging it every step of the way, with Young Thug truly living the rockstar life, being seen here crowd surfing during his European run in Denmark. By summer of 2016, Thug would be having one of the most iconic moments of his career. On August 26, 2016, he would drop the mixtape Jeffrey, titled after his real name. The project reached brave, creative new highs for Thug, and really raised the bar for just how much style and artistic expression could be crammed into a project in the trap music genre. The content of the project, as well as the cover art and title, represented a creative departure from Thug's thugged out image. The title of the tape, being his given name Jeffrey, represented a personal project and a mindset shift, and Thug would even claim in the lead up to the project's release that he officially didn't even want to be known as Young Thug anymore, and was now known on stage by his real name Jeffrey. In August 2016, in a video posted by Revolt, Thug said that the tape was going to be historic, and confirmed that he was changing his name and didn't want to be called Thug anymore.
And make sure you guys be ready for that Jeffrey. It's gonna be real history.
No doubt, man. So Jeffrey's coming out, man. We heard it's gonna be no more Young Thug, man.
Nah, after Jeffrey come out, I hope everybody in the world start acknowledging me as Jeffrey. I don't want to be Young Thug anymore.
The head of Thug's record label 300 Entertainment, Laya Cohen, confirmed in a bizarre Rap Radar interview that's since been deleted from official sources that Thug was now known by the name No, My Name is Jeffrey, whilst adding that the purpose of the project was powerful imagery.
Bad. Well, man, Young Thug's about to get paid this Jeffrey project, man. What should we expect from that one, Thugger?
So, first of all, I'm in Brooklyn right now shooting the commercial announcing Jeffrey. And the reality of the situation is Young Thug is not going to be Young Thug anymore. His new name is going to be No, My Name is Jeffrey. No, My Name is Jeffrey. That's his new name.
Wow.
And the reality is when you see this commercial, you're all going to understand what we do here at 300.
Do you still feel that I'm sorry, go ahead, Leor.
Because it's powerful images of what makes someone Young Thug and what the evolution and how someone is Jeffrey.
Right.
Okay? It's a circular thing. It's important.
Right.
So I'm very excited. We're shooting it in Brooklyn. No, My Name is Jeffrey is on his way. And please respect us to actually segue and utilize his name going forward, okay? Because it's important.
During the press conference for the tape, Thug would be asked by Laya Cohen himself why he was changing his name, and Thug would mention his kids, as well as saying that it was just in case he meets Bill Gates or Oprah.
I didn't want to be in front of Bill Gates or Oprah Winfrey. I don't want my kids to grow up and call me Thug, because Thug, in real life terms, Thug is like thuggy, you know what I'm saying?
On August the 23rd, 2016, Thug would drop a promotional trailer on his YouTube channel for the tape titled No, My Name is Jeffrey, days before the release.
Young Thug?
No, Jeffrey.
It says right here, Young Thug.
No, my name is Jeffrey.
Obviously, the most eye-catching thing about the Jeffrey project was the iconic cover that depicted Thug wearing a unique billowing purple dress designed by the Italian fashion designer Alessandro Trincone. Wearing this dress was the last thing that you would expect a feared gang leader from Atlanta to do. And whilst this clearly wasn't Thug's first time in a dress, the story behind why Thug ended up wearing this particular dress on the Jeffrey cover is particularly interesting. According to a Complex article breaking it down, Thug saw a picture of the dress at the end of a creative meeting for a fashion show he was involved in, and he was so captivated by seeing the dress, he demanded it for the cover art, saying that he had to have it now. Thug's love of the dress was an apparent cosmic coincidence, as Trincone had reportedly designed the dress using similar creative ideologies to Thug making his music, suggesting that it was designed with androgyny and an identity unrestricted by gender in mind. The month before Jeffrey dropped, Thug had actually modeled another dress for a Calvin Klein women's wear campaign that had the caption, "Disobey." And on July the 6th, 2016, in a video interview that was part of the campaign for Calvin Klein, Thug would claim that he believed there was no such thing as gender and that you could still be a gangster wearing a dress.
In my world, of course, it don't matter, you could be a gangster with a good dress, or you could be a gangster with baggy pants. I feel like there's no such thing as gender.
You look hot in a dress.
Thanks. Thanks. Somebody got to dress him with the.
Today, the dress lives in the Museum of Fine Arts in Boston. Well, not today. Today it's on me. Stunning. But fans have interpreted the bold choice of this exotic woman's dress for the cover art as the perfect encapsulation of Thug's unapologetically creative personality. One Reddit user said, "He's big into fashion, and I think he just wanted to be himself. I always loved this cover, but it encapsulates what, in my opinion, Thugger is all about. He's unapologetically himself, and doesn't care what others have to say about him. You can hear it in all his music, but the best example is this project. That's my take on it anyway." This was an interesting creative decision with a deep artistic meaning, but it also had the secondary effect of inspiring relentless trolling of Thug on Twitter, with people likening Thug in the fit to a Swiffer duster. Others joked that he looked like something that could be hanging off the side of a pina colada, while others thought that the dress's ruffles resembled the brushes of a car wash. Some said that he looked like an incredibly powerful character from the Mortal Kombat games, and many celebrities weren't impressed either. In a video since deleted from YouTube in August 2016, Fat Joe would allegedly shrivel up when asked about the dress on the VMA's red carpets by Complex. However, as years went by, it seemed like Thug didn't even want to stand on his original creative reasoning for wearing the dress, as he would actually deny years later in an interview on T.I.'s podcast, Expeditiously, that he wore the dress for attention. This time, saying the real reason is because he thought the dress matched his Margiela shoes, and that's why he liked it.
He did that for attention, did you not? Tell the truth. God honest truth. God honest truth. Tell me the God honest truth. You did that for attention, didn't you?
Hell no.
You did that because you knew, man, ain't nothing nobody can say about me because I'm real out here and I'm thorough and it get me a lot of burns. I'm finna do it. Okay, what you do it?
I bought the Mason Margiela.
Here go this the real truth.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
What happened?
The Margiela, they match. Just that simple.
In a later song called Just How It Is, Thug this time explained that he wore the dress to hide his machine gun, something that he reiterated in a No Jumper interview in July 2019.
Yeah, it's like, nigga, I wore this long dress that I had for December for me. I'm saying it on my album. It's one of the songs in my album, and it just explains like the question of the century, like the question that everybody always wanted to know. There's one bar in the song that just answers the question. Like, you'll hear, it's like dope.
Now to me, this kind of represented a bit of backtracking by Young Thug creatively. He's usually unapologetically himself, but perhaps in the face of years of trolling over the dress, he felt like he needed a more gangster and macho excuse for rocking this feminine fit. Now I personally don't think there's anything wrong with a guy wearing a dress, and to be fair, there is plenty of space in here for the stick. The project, released on August the 26th, 2016, was a commercial success, hitting number 8 on the Billboard charts, one spot below his Slime Season 3 tape, but this project was bigger than anything he had done creatively before. The album was Thug's most critically acclaimed one yet, scoring an 8.5 from Pitchfork, and the project would be incredibly creative musically. All of the album's tracks are named after his idols and biggest inspirations, including Wyclef Jean, Floyd Mayweather, and of course, Harambe, the gorilla from the Cincinnati Zoo who was tragically packed after getting caught with a child in his pen in 2016. Thug used his album credits to show love to the great artists who inspired him, like Future, Gucci Mane aka Guwop, producer Swizz Beatz, Rihanna aka Riri, Webby, and Kanye West. This was an interesting artistic direction, but also a smart clout move. Just like trying to name his controversial tape Carter 6 gained him a monumental amount of attention and controversy, naming each of these tracks after famous people tapped into their audiences and attracted attention from their fan bases. But don't let the dress fool you either. The lyrics of Jeffrey once again saw Thug hinting at his ability to organize violence as the leader of his gang. Wyclef Jean has Thug bragging about how much money he has now, and a refrain where Thug repeats, if you play with his money, he will let his people do ya, and rapping in the verse that if you play with his money, you'll end up in a body bag, as well as warning his ops not to play with him because his goons have a new AK-47. In the second verse, Thug continues rapping about how people were plotting on him, but he spotted it first and turned the tables, putting a target on their head. That song was a commercial success, hitting 87 on Billboard's Hot 100. But on track 2, Floyd Mayweather, we saw an iconic track where Thug, Gunna, Travis Scott, and Gucci Mane all go round for round with short verses like boxers fighting. Thug raps about someone trying to hit a lick and missing, and them trying to run, but him ending up catching them and filling them with the whole clip. Track 3, Swizz Beatz, saw Thug paying homage to YSL Woody, saying that he totes a gun like it's legal, and then shouting out Woody again before making a gun sound, before going on to say that he looks that up 1,000 times. Now, I could be reaching, but I feel like he's saying that he looks up the news clips of Nuts' murder and the crimes YSL allegedly committed against their enemies. Thug would later describe himself as the shot caller in his group, and in track 4, Future Swag, this saw Thug making a comment relevant to the dress on the album cover, saying don't be fooled by thinking that he looks soft, he is dangerous and he will cut out your tongue. And later, saying that he spends money on people's legal cases and that his gang sends their ops to meet their makers. On track 5, Riri, Thug says that he's got rank in his gang and reminds everybody outright that he's a blood member and a gangbanger and that he's not soft just because he's singing. Thug would then drop a ironic series of lines saying that his crew are the realest gangbangers and that he has real killers with him who are dangerous. But you won't see those people on camera or even know their names. On the 6th track, Goo Wop, Jeffrey, along with Young Scooter and Quavo and Offset of the Migos, pay homage to the godfather of trap, Gucci Mane. The song had Thug doing a lot of incriminating gangster talk, seemingly directly referencing Big Nut's murder at the barbershop, rapping how the FN gave him a haircut, and saying that even his girl knows that he's gangster, along with a hook where Thug says that he's got 20 bullets in his gun and will shoot at you and your kid and your woman. Track 7, Harambe, would see Thug going positively ape, and the track had some of the most flagrant examples of self-snitching that Thug would ever do in his career, as Thug would rap about how money will kill someone fast, and then in a pretty dark run of lyrics, Young Thug would then make one of his earliest mentions of having shot up his enemies' mothers and children, rapping how he'll shoot at your mother, brother, whole family, father, daughter and son, even if they're a baby. Now this lyric was apparently 100% accurate and no rap cap, as it would turn out that following the death of Big Nut and in the midst of a beef with Nut's friend and artist YFN Lucci, Lucci's mother's home was shot up numerous times in the span of just a few days in 2015, just a year before Jeffrey was released, as explained by Lucci in this interview released on March the 22nd, 2016 with Civil TV.
When my house got shot up, I was out of town though, man. I get a call, my mom don't say the house got shot. When we get back, everything was good though. She didn't get shot and everything was good. You see, they ain't shoot too many times the first time. You can tell they had to pull up right here. They ain't even pull up in front of the house. They pull up like right here, and they were just shooting it like, you know, sideways behind the car in the street. They was in the street though shooting, cause that's why all the shell was. Like a week later, we was at the studio. I get the same call. My boy, boom. He had my phone. He ain't even really want to say it. He like, how did he say it happened again? That's how he say I know what he was talking about though. Juju was in here, my baby mama, and my little girl and my mama and her friend. Both of them got shot though, my mama and her friend. Her room right here though. So that's how she got shot, really. They was shooting, boom, boom. They was in the bed, both of them got hit in the leg.
This is something that Lucci's mother would later reveal in the trial, also revealing that her grandchild, Lucci's daughter, was also there when the shooting happened.
How many times back in 2015 was your home shot up?
Twice.
Were you injured at any one of those times that your home was shot up?
The second one.
Okay. Was there anyone home with you that first time?
Yes.
Okay.
Upstairs, me and my grandbaby just had one upstairs.
Sitting here today, do you remember how many gunshots you heard?
A lot of them.
Do you remember if your son, Rayshawn, was home when the house was shot up the first time?
No, he wasn't.
Now, the second shooting, you said that was about a day or so later?
Yes.
The first shooting, did I hear you say you left the house?
I left for like 2 days or maybe one night. I can't remember.
And when you returned, was that when the second shooting happened?
Yes.
Who was at home during that second time that your home was shot?
The same 3.
And would that be your granddaughter? I believe Juju, your friend who sometimes come over.
Yes, my friend.
Your friend. And then was your granddaughter's mother there?
Yes, we were shot.
When you said we knew we were shot.
I said, that's when I noticed. I seen blood.
Did you have to go to the hospital?
Yes.
Both the first time and the second time that your home was shot, did you speak with police?
I can't recall.
Okay.
This was by no means the first time Thug had rapped about shooting at people's mothers and family either, but despite the playful nature of the dress and the auto-tuned vocals, make no mistake, Jeffrey is gangster rap, and Thug is letting the whole world know that just because he's wearing a dress, don't think for a second he won't smoke you. Jeffrey was a huge success and represented a massive leveling up for Thug and his profile creatively, and from here he would just keep on winning. A bonus track called Pick Up the Phone, released on June the 3rd, 2016, and also appeared at the end of the Jeffrey album as well as on Travis Scott's album. This collaboration, that also included Quavo, peaked at 43 on Billboard in September of 2016. A little while later, his collaboration track with Usher, called No Limit, would release in June, eventually peaking at 32 on Billboard in August of the same year. And after that, his feature on the song Offended with Meek Mill and 21 Savage would also hit 70 on Billboard. On that track, Thug appears to say that somebody was plotting to kill him and that he took them out first. At this point, Thug had seemingly conquered the solo rap game and was now looking to become a mogul and push his team forward too. In November 2016, Thug would co-found the official Young Stoner Life Records imprint under 300 Entertainment alongside the label CEO Kevin Liles. And in these clips posted by academics, we would see Thug officially getting his own office at YSL, which was now officially a label as well as a gang.
Yes, quick question. Hey, thank you.
And he would induct the 300 label boss Laya Cohen into the Gang I Mean label with his very own YSL chain.
Yes, sir. What? Papa Kid. What? You did.
Now, Thug would use his label to sign some of Atlanta's most buzzing artists like Gunna, Lil Keed, and Yak Gossi. Thug was clearly feeling himself by the end of 2016, and perhaps his success had his ego out of control. Because in a display of not being very truly humble under God, in December of 2016, Thug would go viral for berating an airline employee after missing his flight in a video that was posted by Play This Hip Hop on Facebook.
These two ants are so rude.
You need to get me off the camera and you need to step away from this
These two ants are so rude. They peasants. They saying they manager on the way. I don't want to talk to the manager. Y'all ants. Your manager peasant. Y'all ants. I give y'all bum at 15,000 apiece to quit your job.
Willing.
I'm getting you bums one more chance. Look at, get their hair. Sink in on the hair. They have napkins. They look like Africans. They done got deported over. What's
deported and escorted.
Do you bums need tokens or what? Bigger than the law. Also. Call every officer you want to call. I'm glad you turned around. Luckily, don't be.
Perhaps it's not too surprising that a man who claims to kill his enemies also isn't nice to airline staff. But anyway, embarrassment aside, moving into 2017, he would land some of the most lucrative opportunities that the rap game had to offer. In March 2017, Thug featured on the song Trap 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 with Rick Ross and Wale, going 97 on Billboard. Then in March, Drake dropped his More Life project, which goes #1 on the charts, and Thug would actually land 3 features on the project. Firstly, Sacrifices with 2 Chainz, which hit number 36, where Thug rapped about how he has people killed neatly like the president would, and he popped up again on the track Ice Melts, which went 62 on Billboard, and even at the end of March, Calvin Harris would release a song called Heatstroke that featured Thug, Pharrell Williams, and Ariana Grande. The song was the second of 10 songs released by the Scottish DJ and producer Icon in 2017, and would later be included as track 3 on his Funk Wave Bounces Volume 1 album. That one hit 96 on Billboard and was certified gold. Then in June 2017, Thug released his latest full-length project, Beautiful Thugger Girls. This was a controversial project for a number of reasons. He dropped it on the 16th of June 2017, the same day as Tupac's birthday, and Thug tweeted that he did this on purpose because he felt that he was this generation's Tupac and wanted to finish what Pac had started. Wyclef Jean apparently agreed with this, showing the level of stardom that Thug was really reaching at this point. But that wasn't the only reason the project was controversial. The tape itself was a departure from Thug's usual trap music style. In this project, he incorporated elements of country music and rock and roll, appearing on the cover art with a guitar. A conceptual move that many people felt Thug had stolen once again from his usual muse Lil Wayne, whose Rebirth album in 2010 was controversial for being a rock-inspired rap album too. But this project peaked at number 8 on Billboard, and the song Relationship from the project featured Future and peaked at number 65 on Billboard. Thug's singles and features during this period cleaned up on the charts too. In July, a collaboration with Meek Mill was released called We Ball, hitting number 96. However, unfortunately behind the scenes, alongside all the self-snitching that he was doing in his songs, Thug was moving sloppy in the streets, and ultimately ended up in trouble with the law. On September the 24th, 2017, Thug, Gunna, and a former personal assistant of Thug, who has since become a full-time employee at 300 Entertainment, would be in a vehicle that got stopped for having illegally tinted windows. Police would search the vehicle, reportedly finding 2.5 ounces of marijuana, many other drugs, and $50,000 in cash, along with a firearm to make matters worse. Images of the stop released by WSB-TV many years later would show Thug getting patted down and him and Gunna miserably sitting on the floor in handcuffs. While during the search, the police would find an allegedly stolen firearm and a plethora of drugs in the car. Bodycam footage released during the traffic stop recorded Thug, who was pleading with the cop, seemingly desperate not to go to jail, while the cop would let Thug know that he has a whole trifecta of illegal items in his possession.
Real soon as I got kids and everything, I don't need nobody saying you going to no jail about them. I'm supposed to perform with them and Dallas. You got dope, you got money, you got guns. Trifecta.
WSB-TV would also attain the transcript of the arrest in 2022 and reveal that the third man who was with them tried to claim ownership of everything in the car, but the cops weren't buying it. Both Thug and Gunna were charged with theft by receiving stolen property due to the firearm being stolen, and with intent to distribute felony quantities of methamphetamine, hydrocodone, and marijuana. And each of these charges would later be included in the YSL RICO trial and used as proof of YSL being a criminal street gang that they were conspiring to be part of. The authorities would continue to monitor YSL closely for the following 5 years from this point. 2 days after the arrest, on September the 26th, 2017, TMZ would break the news and report on the arrest, and it would take until the following year for Thug to be hit with 8 charges related related to this stop. But ultimately, this setback didn't stop Thug's role. In fact, he would soon have arguably the biggest moment of his career to date. In August 2017, Havana, a song by pop sensation Camila Cabello, would be released with a feature from Thug. The track earned Thug his first Billboard Hot 100 #1 single, and the song would spend a lengthy 46 weeks on the charts. The track was a global hit, going #1 in 24 countries outside of the US and charting in at least 38 other countries around the world. Havana was huge, and no doubt Thug's small but impactful appearance on this generational hit cemented him as a legendary figure in pop music beyond trap, and he continued to drop hits from here. His October 2017 collaboration called High End with Chris Brown and Future peaked at 82 on the charts and eventually went gold. This came with some interesting lyrics where Thug said that he was a big blood and the boss of his gang, and then saying that he caught his first body and became a man after someone tried to take his money. That was followed in October when Thug dropped the collaborative Super Slimy mixtape with Future, duly going #2 on the album's charts, and spawning a selection of buzzing tracks that also charted as well, and the album got decent reviews. Then in 2018, Thug would try yet another publicity stunt trying to reinvent himself, changing his name and gaining the public's attention for his bizarre behavior once again. On February the 20th, 2018, Thug took to Twitter and announced that he was changing his stage name. This bizarre name change certainly garnered attention, but it didn't stick, and while people still use it as a nickname, hasn't released any official projects under that name. But February was also the month when Thug would be hitting the charts again in an unexpected collaboration with infamous blood-turned-snitch 6ix9ine and infamous woman shooter Tory Lanez. On the 10th of March 2018, their song Rondo would peak at 73 on Billboard, and on February the 23rd, 2018, Thug announced via the Hypebeast YouTube channel that as a show of support to his deaf brother, he would not be releasing any more music in 2018.
I got a deaf brother. I got a brother that can't hear or talk. So I want to act deaf for a year, so I ain't gonna put no music out this year. 2019, I'm gonna put out probably High Tune.
This would apparently be done as a show of solidarity for his brother who cannot hear or talk. However, on April the 13th, 2018, less than 2 months after, Thug would seemingly contradict his pledge of not releasing music, dropping the project Hear No Evil. The cover featured a photograph of Young Thug's deaf brother, and the title Hear No Evil being a direct reference to his brother's condition. Hear No Evil consisted of only 3 tracks: Anybody with Nicki Minaj, Up with Lil Uzi Vert, and Now with 21 Savage. Interestingly, because Hear No Evil contains only 3 songs, it's actually classified as a maxi single rather than an EP, which requires actually 4 songs. But the lead single was Anybody with Nicki Minaj, which would actually be released with an official sign language music video on the same day as the project. Despite Thug or Nicki not even being in the music video, it was still very well received and currently has 78 million views on YouTube. And that song featured 3 skilled sign language interpreters who signed both verses of the track beautifully, bringing every bar to life for the deaf audience. And Thug would actually be praised for his inclusivity and shining a light on deaf fans of music and disability itself. However, despite the positive message of inclusivity, the song's lyrics would ultimately be seen by prosecutors to also have a dark meaning, with lyrics where Thug says that he has something to do with a body and is the general of his gang later being used against him at the YSL trial. Anybody would ultimately reach 89 on the charts, and then on the 6th of May 2018, Thug was part of another iconic hit song for somebody else, getting a writing credit and backup vocal credits for Childish Gambino's powerful political hit, This Is America. On May the 18th, 2018, Thug and Gunna were once again stopped by police, this time for speeding. Involved in the stop were 2 vehicles, one being driven by Thug, with Gunna as the passenger, and another vehicle closely following them with 4 people inside. When the police stopped both vehicles and searched them, Young Thug and Gunna's vehicle was clean, but the occupants of the second vehicle following them close behind was actually found to have numerous weapons with high-capacity magazines, including even an AK-47 with a 30-round mag. While neither of them were actually charged for the incident, this traffic stop would also be used against them in the YSL indictment. And let's keep it real, if you're driving around with another car following you full of goons and guns, you're a pretty serious guy. But anyway, it was also the same month on August the 18th, 2018, that Thug dropped another iconic project, Slime Language. This wasn't technically a Young Thug project, but was actually a compilation album for his YSL Records artists. With Slime Language, Thug continued the theme of Hear No Evil, honoring his deaf brother Greg, with this project's artwork actually featuring the phrase Young Stoner Life spelled out in drawings of American Sign Language. And of course, the title Slime Language itself is literally a play on sign language. Although the artwork and title could also be seen as a hint towards gang signs and the use of coded lingo that Thug and his YSL gang use. But anyway, Slime Language was also well received. In promotion of the project, Thug sent live snakes to several media outlets, including DJ Academics, Genius, Complex, and XXL. And Complex would even post a video of Academics receiving his snake.
Like, yo, he sent the snake. So this is what he sent. Salute to the good people at 300 Records and of course Young Thug.
is to continue to promote Slime Language, which is his album.
This project boasted features from many YSL signees, including Gunna, Duke, and Lil Keed, and it also features Thug's longtime girlfriend, Jerica Carle, and his sisters, Hydora and Dolly. Other frequent collaborators of Thug's also make appearances like Lil Uzi Vert, Lil Baby, and Jacquees. But perhaps Thug felt like he needed some controversy to whip up attention for this project, because a few days after its release, on August the 8th, 2019, Thug would make an alarming post on social media tagging his longtime enemy YFN Lucci and saying, "If I didn't like what you did for your family, I would have killed you a while ago." Another quote that would later come back to haunt Thug at the YSL trial. And again, I'm not going to give you the ins and outs of this beef with Lucci in this video, but clearly at this point, Thug had zero cares about broadcasting his violent fantasies he was having about what he was going to do to his ops. But despite whatever was going on in the streets, Thug was still very much outside. In August 2018, he would release a series of vlogs with cameraman Joe Billionaire titled Slime Language Vlog, which showcased his life in the streets of Atlanta and featured Thug walking in the neighborhood, cutting a larger-than-life figure amongst his community. With all of the promo going on around it, Slime Language was a great success, hitting number 8 on Billboard and charting in 4 other countries, selling 41,000 units first week, which is pretty decent for a label compilation. From here, Thug also embarked on major tours and performed sold-out shows in Atlanta and beyond. He would continue chasing the bag, being seen touring with J. Cole, Gunna, and more in a video posted by NDOH. In September, another vlog would drop from Joe Billionaire commemorating Cleveland Avenue Day, an annual tribute to Young Thug's roots in his hood, with a video showcasing the area extensively.
Fuck, we at Trapland? Yeah, we on Bleeding, baby, at the park. Yeah, slide like no light. Yeah. Get dealt with and get checked.
And they out here on that.
Yeah.
They claiming they Glock. We about to Glock.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Real Glock.
Oh, we brought up?
Yeah. And we ain't going back and forth. We knew that, yeah.
Later in September, the 6-song EP On the Run would be released, following on with the short format style started by the maxi single Hear No Evil. But despite its short runtime and minimal hype, the project still went 17 on Billboard in October. And on the 23rd of May, Thug would drop another iconic song called The London. This single featuring J. Cole and Travis Scott became one of Thug's biggest commercial hits as a lead artist, with it peaking at number 12 on the charts. He would also be featured on Post Malone's hit song Goodbyes in July, which peaked at number 3. And then, on August the 16th, 2019, Young Thug released his debut solo album, So Much Fun. For some reason in the music industry today, there's this kind of weird distinction between mixtape, commercial mixtape, and studio albums, but for all intents and purposes, all of Thug's music up until this point had been full-length, album quality projects, regardless of what you want to call them. The distinction between the album and mixtape is just more of an indicator as to whether the project represents fulfillment of an obligation under the record deal, but in this case, the importance of Thug's latest project being a full-blown debut album was actually pretty significant. Thug's debut, So Much Fun, would debut at number 1 on the Billboard charts, and it charted in multiple countries all around the world, selling 131,000 copies in the first week and later becoming certified platinum. The album was once again reviewed positively on Pitchfork, who called it Thug's best project to date. Track 1, titled Just How It Is, would be perhaps the most self-incriminating song on the album, and it would be indeed referenced in the YSL indictment, as Thug states that he used to rob and kidnap, but now he's a full-time rapper. He also speaks on his altercation at the Lenox Mall. He would praise his lawyer Brian Steele and states that he actually gave him $2 million to handle all the murders. He creatively finds a way to mention the murder of Big Nut, inferring that he killed the biggest blood out there. The main theme of the song is that Thug came from nothing and doesn't care about the police anymore because he's now rich. Famous last words if you ask me. Track 4 of the album, Hot, was actually Thug and Gunna's triumphant celebration of their lifestyles, and it turned out to be the album's breakout hit. The song would spend 26 weeks on the chart, peaking at number 11, and this track quickly became viral on social media, helping it gain even more attention. In the song, Thug would talk about kicking in doors at the age of 5 and being sick of fake gangsters. So Much Fun was followed up by a deluxe version that was teased on social media. This featured 4 new songs. In 2020, Thug barely released any solo material, but went on an unforgettable feature run. The song Give No Fs would feature Thug, Migos, and Travis Scott, dropping in February 2020 and hitting 48 on Billboard. That same month, the song Might Not Give Up with A Boogie with the Hoodie was also released, hitting number 66. Then We Should, a feature with Lil Baby, also hit number 91 on Billboard. In March, Lil Uzi Vert released the deluxe for the Eternal Take album, featuring 2 new Young Thug songs, Got the Guap, which hit 87, and Strawberry Peels hitting number 60. And Young Thug would continue his stream of collaborations by teaming up with fellow Dancing Blood Chris Brown, the duo releasing a collaborative tape called Slime and B in May. The tape would peak at number 24 on Billboard and spent 39 weeks on the charts, and the song Go Crazy from the tape would end up going crazy and be Thug's longest lasting song on the charts, spending a whopping 52 weeks on the Billboard Hot 100 and peaking at number 3, Thug's first top 10 single as a lead artist. And the track D4L by Future, Drake, and Young Thug releasing in May, each artist would represent their own labels, Drake's OVO, Future's Free Bands Gang, and Thugger's YSL, another song that went top 20, hitting number 19. Young Thug wouldn't make another month without featuring on the charts. On May the 15th, he would be heard over a moody, wheezy beat on Future's track Harlem Shake, hitting 84. A few few days later, on May the 22nd, 2020, Gunna would release his single Dollars on My Head featuring Thug, a hit guaranteed collaboration that went 38 on the charts and was there for 19 weeks. In July, during an interview with Tidal, Thug would be asked how he's been able to avoid the fate of many of his peers who ended up behind bars, with Thug stating that it was actually his fans that allowed him to stay on the straight and narrow.
You know, you've had your little scraps with the law, but like, how serious did it get for you, and how do you think you were able to avoid, you know, really going down that path and that not happening in your direction?
I think it came from the fans, because without the fans, I probably wouldn't have had the brain that I had. Without my fans, I probably wouldn't have thought that I was a superstar. Without my fans, I probably would have been still doing, you know, normal things. So by me having fans and me having shows and people want to see me, it's like I was able to really get away. I feel like that's the only way I really escaped it, because I was really able to get away.
The following month, Thug would continue to collaborate with heavy hitters, featuring on Lil Baby's song Blind, part of DaBaby's Blame It on Baby deluxe album. This was one of the most inspiring Thug songs ever made, and it's one of my personal favorite songs from his catalog. It spent 9 weeks on the Billboard 100 and peaked at 74. Late September would see Thug collaborating once again with Travis Scott and also the British singer MIA, when both Thug and MIA featured on Travis's song Franchise. And it didn't take this song to reach #1 on the Billboard Hot 100 either, earning Thug his second #1. Thug would also feature on the third single from Megan Thee Stallion's debut album Good News, called Don't Stop, hitting #30 on the charts. On October the 2nd, Thug would have another collaboration with 21 Savage and Metro Boomin as part of 21 Savage Mode project. The song talked about all the luxurious things they have in life and was a major success, hitting #26 on the charts. By October the 21st, 2020, despite this essentially being a rest year for Thug in terms of solo material, he had still managed to chart a whopping 14 times on the Billboard Hot 100. He was on a legendary run in pop music, not just rap, and he was doing so all while hinting towards a terrifying criminal empire, and he still wasn't done growing. The following year, at the start of 2021, Juice WRLD would release his song Bad Boy that had a feature with Thug. The song hit 22 on the charts, but would also be cited in the YSL indictment, where Thug hinted at having killers in his gang and being responsible for the shooting of YFN Lucci's mother. Then on April the 16th, 2021, Young Stoner Life Records would release Slime Language 2, this being the second full-length studio album from Thug's Gang label. The cover art featured a photograph taken of the Young Stoner Life Records roster, including both producers and rappers affiliated with the label. Slime Language 2 landed Thug yet another #1 on the Billboard albums charts and generated total sales of 113,000 albums in the first week. However, the album was met with relatively poor reviews compared to Thug's earlier projects. Critics noted that there were standout tracks and strong performances from featured artists like Travis Scott and Lil Uzi Vert, but many felt the album was overstuffed with 23 tracks, leading to inconsistency and forgettable moments from lesser-known artists within the YSL roster. The album had one painfully ironic song called Take It to Trial, where YSL members dissed the police, prosecutors, and judges of Atlanta, promising to take it to trial if they ever get charged with crimes, something that would be painfully unfunny when serious charges eventually dropped on the crew. Another charting song from the album was Slatty, featuring Young Thug, Gunna, and the YSL artists Yak Gotti and Lil Duke, which peaked at 99 on the Billboard 100. Slatty 2 would also be included in the YSL indictment, referring to lyrics about killing someone's friend in front of their mother. The song Ski, featuring Gunna and Thug, would end up going viral too, peaking at 18 on the Billboard charts. But once again, that song would also be included in the YSL indictment. On the song Solid, Thug and Gunna would reunite with Drake for a track speaking about solid and genuine relationships. Ironically, something that both Gunna and Thug would learn a heavy lesson about later on at trial. Solid would end up being the most popular song on the release, peaking at #12, probably due to the fact that it had a Drake feature. On August the 29th, 2021, Kanye's 10th studio album Donda would include a feature from Thug on the track Remote Control. The song would speak about their relationship with God, and it would even be classified as a gospel song by Billboard, peaking at #7 on those charts. Thug's feature on the album would essentially come about after he apparently called Kanye and told him that their friendship would be over if he wasn't included on the album. Meanwhile, following Donda's release, Soulja Boy would actually call out Kanye for swapping his verse out for Thug's verse on the final version of that song. The song would ultimately reach #40 on the Billboard Hot 100, and on September the 3rd, 2021, the MVP trio of Drake, Future, and Young Thug came back together again on the lead single of Drake's 6th studio album, Certified Lover Boy. The song Way Too Sexy, which samples the British band Right Said Fred's 1991 single Way Too Sexy, would be another hit for Thug, debuting at #1 on the charts, giving Thug his third #1 song. A month later, in October, Thug would release his second official studio album and his 14th official solo release, a project titled Punk. This would debut at #1 on Billboard as well, earning 90,000 sales in its first week, becoming Thug's third US #1 album to debut on the charts. This received decent reviews, like a 7.1 from Pitchfork, who acknowledged the experimental approach used on the album. Critics generally noted that Punk diverged from Thug's earlier work, showing a more introspective and acoustic-driven sound, with outlets like Rolling Stone praising the album for its experimentation reputation, but criticizing it for lacking standout moments. Tracks like Bubbly, Contagious, and Die Slow were considered broadly to be some of the more standout songs of the album, getting positive mentions for their engaging production and lyrical depth. On Bubbly, the lead and only single from the album, Thug would collaborate with the usually heavy hitters Drake and Travis Scott, with a fan favorite song that ended up hitting 20 on the charts. But with the indictment now looming on the horizon, during the early days of 2022, Thug would still drop hits, most notably being his features on 2 songs from Gunna's Drip Season Forever project. One of these would be the smash hit Pushin' P that spent 20 weeks on the charts, peaking at number 7, and with the song's release, the phrase Pushin' P would go viral. This bizarre phrase had some interesting meanings. Apparently it stands for acting like a pimp or player, or simply applying pressure to a situation and remaining solid. But others claim it's more of a reference to splashing cash and balling as a way of life, spending money on things that you always wanted. Whilst trolls have suggested that Pushin' P actually refers to pushing urine out of your pee-pee when you're in a crowded prison men's room, but it could also refer to distributing Percocet pills. It was even something that Thug's lawyer would even try and explain away during the trial as actually meaning pushing positivity.
It's called pushing P, and it's positivity. It means any circumstance you're in, if you think positively about something, you can make it through. You're pushing positivity. You're pushing P. Jeffrey is showing the P.
The track Mop from Gunna's project would also feature Young Thug and landed at 45 on the charts. But at this point in time, it's likely that at least some members of YSL realized that the heat of a police investigation might not be far away, whether it was just rumors on the street or just simple intuition. But even with the indictment looming around the corner, many within YSL were still operating as recklessly as ever. On February the 7th, 2022, Christian Eppinger, better known in the streets as YSL member Big Briss, would be stopped by police, and it would be during this altercation that he would pull out a gun and fire 6 shots at the arresting officer, who would only barely escape the incident with his life. The incident would be caught on surveillance video, and it would eventually become another charge within the YSL indictment.
In the video, Officer David Rogers can be seen pulling up on a street in southwest Atlanta in February while trying to serve a warrant. He jumps out of the car and struggles with the man. Then you see the man shoot Officer Rogers, who falls to the ground. The man then can be seen running away.
YSL was not only moving recklessly outside of the prison, but also within the prison walls. On the 9th of February 2022, 2 members of YSL would allegedly attempt to kill YFN Lucci, who was still locked up on his own RICO case involving his sets YFN, with an incident report revealing that Lucci was involved in a fight where the other men had sharp objects, while Lucci would allegedly yell how he felt like killing the man himself. This would later be revealed to be an alleged planned hit by YSL members, with the shocking footage of the fight being revealed during the trial.
Now, Lieutenant, as the fight's going on, can you tell the jurors in each one of the pods where are the deputies in relation to the inmates, for example, the ones we're watching right now? Where does this deputy come from?
He comes, I'm assuming, from the other side.
There would also allegedly be a highly incriminating discussion held between 2 members of YSL on February the 22nd, 2022. Freshly in Fulton County Jail, Big Briss, who had just been arrested for the attempted murder on that police officer, would allegedly hold discussions with another YSL member where they were trying to figure out how to obtain permission from Thug to make a second attempt to kill YFN Lucci. On March the 14th, 2022, YSL found themselves entangled in yet another incident, adding to their growing list of offenses leading up to their arrests. But this time, it would be an actual murder, as Atlanta PD would find a man shot and killed under Interstate 20. The man turned out to be a 23-year-old named Shymel Drinks, an alleged affiliate of YFN.
On the heels of another homicide in the city, the medical examiner says 23-year-old Shymel Drinks was killed near I-20 last night. A witness found a car riddled with bullet holes parked on Windsor Street underneath the overpass around 10 last night. Drinks was inside, shot multiple times. This is a second shooting near an interstate in the last week. Police are working to see if there was any video captured near that scene. If you know anything or think you do, you're asked to please contact police.
The murder of Drinks would allegedly be get back for the murders of 2 YSL members that happened earlier in 2022, and 4 YSL members, Lil Miles aka Miles Farley, D aka Demekion Garlington, Qua aka Quamavius Nichols, and SB aka Shannon Stillwell would ultimately be accused of this murder as part of the YSL indictment. On April the 28th, 2022, with the indictment less than 2 weeks away, 2 members of YSL would even allegedly conspire to commit the murder of another YSL member. Polo aka Cordarius Dorsey, who was locked up at this time, would allegedly order Obama aka Anthony Sumlin to kill another fellow gang member, Harold Clements, because Clements had apparently refused to put money on Polo's jail books, with Polo then providing Obama with Clements' phone number to set up the murder. By early 2022, Young Thug had made significant strides in the music industry. He had released critically acclaimed music that showcased his unique style that had established him as a leading figure in not just the Atlanta rap scene, but the global music scene. However, behind the glamour and hidden by the illuminating lights of success and accolades, Thug was still allegedly very much entangled with the street beefs of his hometown, and his gang affiliations and criminal activities casted a dark cloud over his success. Eventually, though, the law would catch up with him, and the once celebrated artist would soon find himself ensnared in the legal battle of a lifetime, which threatened to undo all of his artistic achievements and completely redefine his legacy.